microphone.
No, it's fine.
Yeah, it's okay.
But still, I should probably get ready. But
We should not, yeah.
Great idea.
It's not a chance.
oh, of course.
Thank
always.
you.
It's just so that people like have a place to join before the.
Hello, Brad.
Thank you so much.
People that throw like
Yeah, even though our
since I last saw
own
you. Oh, well, that would help with it. Okay.
That is about an inch or two.
There you go. There you go. Okay. I'm not going crazy then.
You know, I learned to respect all people. That's this principle that we do with practice. When it's not, you know, it's not the place to discuss. I don't know. But I think
Sorry
that,
for all of the stealing from Buddhism that white people do.
you know, it's just very definitely, no, and I think that again, it's not a religion anymore, it's a way of life. And it's
Series
so
of principles.
open, the openness allows people to practice and to believe, and I think that's the compassion. I call it a compassion more than, oh, you are, you know, you do it the wrong way, there's no way.
it's Bethel Guest, and I believe it's Shabbat at TBE. If you go to the gift shop, which is a little over there, I believe there's a sign on the glass that has the exact information.
Okay, I'll go to the left.
Yeah, it should be the first room. First,
Okay.
yeah.
So some of other photographer, when they came in here, they would sit in the back too? Like,
All the-
why do they sit? They sit in the back?
Who?
Like other photographer? I assume that you've been working for...
I haven't done bar and bat mitzvahs before today, basically. Last night there was a photographer who sat basically where you're going to sit. I don't know what the general procedure is.
Also, last night they had a service here and then somebody was...
Yeah,
Okay.
it was like celebrating volunteers or something.
Oh, okay. Actually, last night I supposed to take a picture, but then I called and they said that the picture is supposed to be outside, and they said that they would reschedule that, so I said okay. So I had my daughter soccer game, so I'm on my way there, and then they emailed me, oh, the miscommunication because there's still some people not inside, but I already, so I wonder if they contact somebody last minute. Is that a volunteer?
It was a staff member. So that, yeah, that might have been a last minute thing.
Oh, I'm working, like, I actually donate for my book, for all the service you see me doing to the temple, so I'm a volunteer too. So I told, I don't know who's in charge of that, but every time picture request came from a different person, so I didn't know what. So I wouldn't follow that lead, and I think if they contact, I think we pick another day that I can come in and do, like 2 days before outside.
Is it going to be sunny today?
Oh, you see, yesterday I was like, oh my God, it's bad. But it's not too bad. It's great, actually.
Oh yeah, it's basically cloudy all afternoon. That's not bad. I don't mind clouds.
That's good though. Not rain, wet, cold. So are you only doing this for the summer, or I assume you're a student or no?
I'm not.
Oh,
I'm actually a bit older than school age.
okay. So this is your job?
Yep.
Cool.
I'm a staff here.
Yeah. So you're not volunteer. That's good though. Then.
I do other volunteering at a local radio station.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so I volunteer the first when I came here for the first time, I was just doing some work for the temple.
about 5 minutes left.
Good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Otherwise, I will have to learn.
I mean, you don't show up on the cameras either way.
But I don't want any distraction. So I
To me.
told you
Yeah, again, I'll be staring at my screen.
for
Oh,
I told you Stephanie just sent an email specifically because of full story, I put it here, then try to be as discreet as I can.
yeah.
So today I'm just going over it. You know.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. It's great to see you on this beautiful Shabbat morning. On this day when we worship together, we have the privilege of welcoming to our bima a young woman who is becoming bat mitzvah, and we are so proud of her and her accomplishments, and really proud of our community for helping her to arrive to this day. We have two communities we are worshiping with today, one that is here at Temple Bethel in Madison, and the other is an online community of people from far and near, and we are so glad to have everyone here together. For that online community, if you check the video description in the YouTube video that you find, you have a couple of links you should be aware of. First of all, there is a link to our prayer book. It's called Mishkan Tefillah. If you don't have a copy of the prayer book at home, you can click on that link, and it's a flip book style prayer book. Be sure to look at the page numbers in the image down at the bottom corner. The pages that I'll be referring to are pages which are in brackets. The pages numbers are in the brackets, and here in the sanctuary, of course, you'll be looking at the page number at the bottom of the page because we're all using the same physical book here at Temple Bethel. Also, online, you have a link to Maria's Torah portion. So if you click on the link from a wonderful website called safaria.org, it will take you right to the place of Maria's Torah reading, and more on that later on. And here in our sanctuary, there are Plaut Torah commentaries, which some of you might have, but later on you can take one from the book cart that is in the foyer of our sanctuary. Believe me when I tell you that we are evolving through the pandemic, but it is indeed good for us all to be here today. It is indeed a miracle, perhaps, that we are able to be worshiping together at all. So, behold, it is good that we are here with one another, and our service begins with an expression of that gratitude. On page 188, if you need the words for Hinei Matov, behold how good it is that we are here together, page 188. Hinei Matov u'manayim, Shevet achim gam yachad, Hinei Matov u'manayim, Shevet achim gam yachad. Hinei Matov u'manayim, Shevet achim gam yachad, Hinei Matov u'manayim, Shevet achim gam yachad. 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 Maria, we'd like to invite you to come and take your place at the Amud, that's our lectern, the Amud at the center of our bima, and be prepared to lead us in worship for this morning. But before you do that, I understand that your parents, Todd and Edith, are going to make a special presentation to you, and that's the presentation of your talit, the garment that we wear when we lead worship, when we engage in worship, when we're present in the synagogue, because it reminds us of all of the commandments that we have on this day. We have in our tradition that tzitzit at the corner of the talit remind us that we're supposed to observe 613 things, 613 commandments. Now, you don't have to worry with all of them right now. But as someone who is bat mitzvah, it is time to start engaging and questioning, what do I need to do in order to become the right kind of person? And so we are indeed privileged to have you with us today. But I'd like to invite Todd and Edith Steinberg now for the presentation of your talit.
We'd like to present to you this talit. We are very honored to be able to be a part of your life and have this significant part of the bat mitzvah ceremony. It's a beautiful talit, and it represents the very large accomplishment that you're undertaking.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kedishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehitatef batzitzit. I invite you to turn to page 185, and Uncle Mark will read the top of page 185.
I enter this sacred space to voice the longings of my heart in prayer. In sacred company, I offer my love to the Holy One. I devote myself this morning to psalm and song, study and prayer. May my heart be lifted, may my thoughts be deepened, and may my soul, like the eagle, soar.
Please turn to page 192 for Ma Tovu.
Atovu, ohalecha Yaakov, ohalecha Yaakov, mishkenotecha Yisrael. Atovu, ohalecha Yaakov, ohalecha Yaakov, mishkenotecha Va'ani berov chastecha avo vetecha eshachave el heichal kodshecha Adonai ahavti me'on beitecha umekom mishkan kevodecha va'ani ashtachaveh ve'echra evrechani ifnei Adonai osi Ohalecha Yaakov, Ohalecha Yaakov, Mishkenotecha Yisrael. Va'ani tefilati lecha Adonai et ratzon Elohim v'rov chasdecha aneni be'emet
Please turn to page 195 and join me. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe. With divine wisdom you have made our bodies, combining veins, arteries, and vital organs into a finely balanced network. Wondrous maker and sustainer of life. Were one of them to fail, how well we are aware. We would lack the strength to stand before you. Blessed are you, Adonai, source of our healing and strength. Baruch atah Adonai, rofei chol basar umafli la'asot. I invite you to turn to page 197. Matter is never destroyed, only transformed. So too can the soul evolve higher and higher, from instinct to inspiration, haughtiness to holiness, selfishness to service, from individualism to union, to join with one, the soul of souls, as the infinite one. As the soul is magnified and sanctified, so is the infinite one exalted. Baruch atah Adonai, asher beyado nefesh kol chai v'ruach kol basar ish. Amen. We now continue on page 198 with prayers thanking God for the miracles of everyday life. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, who has given the mind the ability to distinguish day from night. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, who opens the eyes of the blind. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, who frees the captive. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, who lifts up the fallen. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, who stretches the earth over the waters. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, who strengthens our steps. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, who clothes the naked. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, who gives strength to the weary. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, who removes sleep from the eyes, slumber from the eyelids. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, who has made me in the image of God. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, who has made me free. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, who has made me a Jew. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, who girds Israel with strength. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, who crowns Israel with splendor. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah.
Amen.
Blessed are you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to engage with words of Torah. From the cowardice that shrinks from new truth, from the laziness that is content with half-truths, from the arrogance that thinks it knows all truth, O God of truth, deliver us. Blessed are you, Adonai, teacher of Torah to your people Israel. Baruch atah Adonai, hamlamed Torah le'amo Yisrael. Amen. Please turn to page 206 and join me. These are things that are limitless, of which a person enjoys the fruit of the world,
while the principle remains in the world to come. They are honoring one's father and mother, engaging in deeds of compassion, arriving early for study, morning and evening, dealing graciously with guests, visiting the sick, providing for the wedding couple, accompanying the dead for burial, being devoted in prayer, and making peace among people. But the study of Torah encompasses them all.
We continue on page 224 for the Reader's Kaddish. I invite you to rise. Yitgadal vayitgadash Shmei Rabbah.
Amen.
Be'alma dibarach hirute ve'amlich malchute b'chayechon uviomechon uvchaye dechol beit Yisrael ba'agala uvizman kariv ve'imeru amen. Yehi Shemei Rabbah mevarach le'alam u'lamei almaya yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yitaleh v'yithalal Shemei dekuchu brichu le'ela minchol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nehemata da'amiram be'alma ve'imeru amen. Please turn to page 226.
Lai 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 lai. Lai 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 lai. Lai 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 lai. Lai 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 lai. Baruchu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed.
Page 229. You are praised, who rolls out the rough, raw clay of the universe into delicate vessels of light. And from nothing at all, we could perceive in a world that has turned old, a shimmering new creation right before our eyes, made this moment just for us. How much of your life reveals your presence? How much Torah unfolds from each new flower, from each new wave that breaks upon the sea. You are praised who forms from the clay that cloaks our lives, the delicate vessels which contain our light. Baruch atah Adonai, Yotzer HaMeorot. I invite you to turn to page 231. Love your neighbor as yourself, you said, and light blinded we saw that inner and outer worlds are one, as you are one. You spoke and we wrote. We reached for you down the centuries, your light moving before us. As we climbed, fell back and climbed again, your Sinai of life. Baruch atah Adonai, habocher be'amo Yisrael be'ahava.
Amen.
Page 232.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kivod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed.
Please be seated. We continue on page 234. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'eleh asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam b'shivtecha b'veitecha uvlechtecha v'derech u'shochbecha uvkumecha u'kshartam le'ot al yadecha ve'ayu letotafot bein einecha uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha. I invite you to turn to page 237. Life without integrity is like loosely hanging threads, easily fraying from the main cloth. While in acts of piety, we learn to understand that every instant is like a thread, raveling out of eternity to form a delicate tassel. We must not cast off the threads, but weave them into the design of an eternal fabric. Each day points to eternity. The fate of all time depends upon a single moment. L'ma'an tizkeru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'yitem kedoshim le'Elohechem. Ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeitiechem me'eretz Mitzrayim liot lachem im Ani Adonai Elohechem. Please turn to page 239 and read responsively. The eternal truth is that you alone are God and there is none else.
May the righteous of all nations rejoice in your love and exult in your justice.
Let them beat their swords into plowshares and let their spears into pruning hooks.
Let nation not lift up sword against nation, nor learn war anymore.
You shall not hate your brother or sister in your heart.
The stranger that sojourns with you shall be accepted as your equal, for you were strangers in the land of Egypt.
Why do you crush my people and oppress the poor? Asks God.
We know that the Eternal One defends the poor and upholds the rights of the needy.
Praise to God Most High.
Blessed is God and deserving of blessing.
We continue on page 240.
Tehilot osefele, Nora tehilot osefele. Shira chadasha, shibchu geulim, leshimcha tzvat hayam. Yachad kulam hodu, vehimlichu ve'ameru. Adonai imloch le'olam va'ed. Adonai imloch le'olam va'ed. Lai 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 la 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 lai 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 la lai la 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 lai 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 la 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 lai lai la lai lai la 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 Israel, Kuma be'ezrat Israel, V'techenu mecha, Yehuda ve'Yisrael. O Aleinu, Adonai Tzevaot Shemo, Kadosh Yisrael. Baruch atah Adonai, Ga'al Yisrael.
We continue on page 242. As we begin the tefillah, I invite you to rise.
Adonai sifatai tiftachu fi yagi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise.
We continue on page 244. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avoteinu ve'Imoteinu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor Ve'Hanora El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim Ve'Konei Hakol Ve'Zocher Hasei Avot Ve'Imahot Umevi Geula Livnei V'Nehem Leman Shemo Be'ahava Melech Ozer Moshiach Magid Baruch atah Adonai Magid Avraham Ve'ezrat Sarah. Page 246. Atah gibor le'olam Adonai Mechaye hakol atah Rav le'oshia Morid hatal Mechalkel Chaim Bechesed Mechaye Hakol Berachamim Ramim Somech Noflim Verofeh Holim Umatir Asurim Umechayem Emunato Lishenei Afar Michamocha B'Gevurot Umido Melach Melech Memid Umechayet Umatzmiach Yeshua V'ne'eman atah lecha chayot hakol Baruch atah Adonai Mechaye hakol.
Amen.
We continue on page 248.
Kadesh et shimcha ba'olam Kishem shemakdishim ozo b'shmei marom Kakatuv al yad neviyecha V'kara ze el ze ve'amar Kadosh, Kadosh, Kadosh Adonai Tzevaot Elohol haaretz Kevodo Adir, Adirenu Adonai Adonenu ma'adir Shimcha B'chol haaretz Baruch Kevod Adonai Omo Echadu Eloheinu U'Avinu Malkeinu U'Moshienu ישמיענו ורחמיו לעיני כל חי. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, ימלוך אדוני לעולם, אלוהי ציון, לדור ודור. הללויה. לדור ודור נגיד גודלך, ולנצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש. ושבחך אלוהינו מפינו לא ימוש לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
To all generations we will declare your greatness, and for all eternity proclaim your holiness. Your praise, O God, shall never depart from our lips. Blessed are you, Adonai, the holy God. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el hakadosh.
Amen.
Please be seated. We continue on page 250.
ישמחו במלכות לך, שומרי 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 שבת וקוראי עוני שבת. ישמחו במלכות לך, שומרי 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 שבת וקוראי עוני שבת. מקדשי שבי שבת, כולם ישבעו ויתענגו מטובך שבת. ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי 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 שבת וקוראי עוני שבת. ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי 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 שבת וקוראי עוני שבת. להשמיעי רצית בו וקידשתו שבת. חמדת ימים אותו קראת שבת. ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי 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 שבת וקוראי עוני שבת. ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי 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 שבת וקוראי עוני שבת. למעשה בראשית שבת, למעשה בראשית שבת. ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי 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 שבת וקוראי עוני שבת. ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי 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 שבת וקוראי עוני שבת.
We continue on page 252. Our God and God of our ancestors, be pleased with our rest. Sanctify us with your mitzvot, and grant us a share in your Torah. Satisfy us with your goodness, and gladden us with your salvation. Purify our hearts to serve you in truth. In your gracious love, Adonai our God, grant us your holy Shabbat as a heritage. May Israel, who sanctifies your name, rest on Shabbat. Blessed are you, Adonai, who sanctifies Shabbat. Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat. Please turn to page 257 and join me. for the
expanding grandeur of creations, worlds known and unknown, galaxies beyond galaxies, filling us with awe and challenging our imaginations. Modim anachnu lach. For this fragile planet Earth, its times and tides, its sunsets and seasons, Modim anachnu lach. For the joy of human life, its wonders and surprises, its hopes and achievements, Modim anachnu lach. For human community, our common past and future hope, our oneness transcending all separation, our capacity to work for peace and justice in the midst of hostility and oppression, Modim anachnu lach. For high hopes and noble causes, for faith without fanaticism, for understanding of views not shared, Modim anachnu lach. For all who have labored and suffered for a fairer world, who have lived so that others might live in dignity and freedom, Modim anachnu lach. For human liberties and sacred rights, for opportunities to change and grow, to affirm and choose, Modim anachnu lach. We pray that we may live, not by our fears, but by our hopes, not by our words, but by our deeds. Blessed are you, Adonai. Your name is goodness, and you are worthy of thanksgiving. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha ulecha na'eh lehodot.
Page 258.
Sim shalom u'bracha, ein v'chesed v'rachamim aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol Yisrael amecha, v'varcheinu yotzreinu kulanu ke'echad, ve'or panecha. Ki beor panecha natata lanu, Adonai Eloheinu. Shalom u'bracha, ein v'chesed v'rachamim aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol Yisrael amecha, torat chaim ve'ahavat chesed, ve'ahavat chesed, tzedakah u'bracha ve'rachamim ve'chaim ve'shalom. Shalom u'bracha, ein v'chesed ve'rachamim aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol Yisrael amecha. Tov be'einecha levarech et amcha Yisrael b'chol עת ובכל שעה ישומחה. שים שלום וברכה, חן וחסד ורחמים עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ועל כל ישראל עמך.
Grant us peace, your most precious gift, O eternal source of peace, and give us the will to proclaim its message. To all the peoples of earth, bless our country as a safeguard of peace, its advocate among the nations. May contentment reign within our borders, health and happiness within our homes. Strengthen the bond of friendship and fellowship among the inhabitants of our world. Plant virtue in every soul, and may the love of your name hallow every home and every heart. Praised are you, Adonai, who blesses your people with peace. Baruch atah Adonai, hamvarech et amo Yisrael bashalom.
Amen.
We now pause for a few moments of personal prayer.
I'd like to invite us to turn to page 261 in the prayer book. So much of the time we offer prayers on behalf of the community, but now we offer prayers on our own behalves, perhaps because this is the very essence of the things that we need in this world for ourselves. At the middle of the page, I invite you to join me, 261. I need strength, humility, courage, patience. Strength to control my passions, humility to assess my own worth, courage to rise above defeats, patience to cleanse myself of imperfections, and wisdom to learn and live by our sacred teachings. Let me not be discouraged by my failings. Let me take heart from all that is good and noble in my character. Keep me from falling victim to cynicism. Teach me sincerity and enthusiasm. Endow me with perception and courage, that I may serve others with compassion and love. Page 260, Oseh Shalom.
Oseh Shalom
Bimromav hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Oseh Shalom bimromav hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Oseh Shalom bimromav hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol yoshvei tevel. Oseh shalom bimromav hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Oseh shalom bimromav hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Oseh shalom bimromav hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol yoshvei tevel. Oseh shalom bimromav hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Maria, thank you very much for leading us in worship today. I really appreciate what you have done for us this morning. I love your voice. In fact, I've never heard you sing before. I've never heard you chant before. So I'm looking forward to more, not just today, but to have you use your voice to express all the joy that's in your heart. Thank you for leading us so beautifully in worship. I want to invite the community now to turn to page 362 and 363, which are facing pages in our prayer book, as we begin our Torah service. Maria has invited a number of her relatives to come to the Bima to help us with all of these rituals, and so when you hear your name, just come on up. A few things about our Torah service, especially in these changing times. Since we are trying still to maintain certain physical distances from one another at this time, we want to ask you to try something, because you know when we process with the Sefer Torah around the congregation, people have this wonderful and customary desire to touch it with a talit or a prayer book and to come back and to kiss that, because it's a matter of showing respect to the Sefer Torah. Well, today we're going to try and make sure that we don't want to get too close to other people. This is just a matter of physical distancing. But I'd like everyone for a moment to take your most dominant hand and to put your finger up like this. And when the Torah passes you, to sort of share that sort of motion toward the Torah in an emotional way, to be with the Sefer Torah as it passes you. I know it feels funny not to get close to Torah like perhaps we can on the Bima, but this is for everyone's physical safety and physical health, and so these are just some of the things that we're recommending that we do on this day. Also, something that's very important will happen today that only happens 4 or 5 times in our sanctuary during the liturgical year. And that is today we will be concluding a book of the Torah. The verses that Maria will offer later on are the concluding verses of the book of Leviticus. And for the very last verse, and she knows this is going to happen, the very last verse, we're going to make a motion and ask the congregation to rise in honor of our completing the book of Leviticus. Cantor Nami will then offer an important recognition of that moment when the verses are complete. So please join us in that ritual too, because it again marks the year-long study of Torah as we mark now that we're ending this book, and next week we go on to the next book, the book of Numbers. So that'll happen at the very end of Maria's Torah reading. For right now, I would like to invite Mark Steinberg and Tom Franklin to come to our Bima. They're going to be opening the Ark as well as helping to undress the Sefer Torah. So gentlemen, please come and join us. And up here on the Bima. And here on the floor in front of the thrust of our Bima, I'd like to invite Edith and Todd Steinberg and there to join Maria, as we will in a moment offer the passing of the Sefer Torah. So folks, come right down here in the center on the floor, right in front of our thrust, and get set up for that. And then I now would like to invite the whole community to offer at the middle of page 363. Together we inaugurate our Torah service with these words from Deuteronomy. Please join me. Assemble the people, men, women, and children, and the strangers in your cities, to hear, to learn, to revere Adonai your God, to observe faithfully the words of this Torah, and let their children who do not yet know hear, that they too may learn to revere Adonai your God. We invite the community to rise.
Ein kamocha Elohim Adonai ve'ein kemasecha Malchutcha malchut kol olamim Umemshaltecha bechol dor vador Adonai melech Adonai malach Adonai moch le'olam va'ed Adonai oz le'amo itein Adonai yevarech et amo b'shalom.
Maria, in just a moment, your parents are going to take the Sefer Torah and symbolically transmit it to you. They'll pass it to you. And this is just a symbol, of course, but it's a symbol of something that's very important and something we've been doing for 2,500 years, and that is taking this tradition and passing it from generation to generation. Prophets gave it to the people. The rabbis taught their disciples. Parents have taught their children. Teachers have taught their students. And on this day, in this year of 5,782, you will receive Torah into your arms. Now, you've been studying Torah already. You've been studying. You know a little bit about this book, and it's great. But when you take the Torah into your arms, we ask you to cherish it. We ask you to treasure it. We ask you to make this part of your life from today onward, just as you have been making Torah part of your life in preparation for this day. It is our tradition's understanding that everything that is possibly known is somewhere in this scroll. And our job is simply to learn to read, to learn to understand, and to learn how to interpret words that are so ancient into thoughts that can be so enlivening for us and into things that can help our world. You are now a recipient of Torah. May you indeed take this Torah, wrestle with its words, wrestle with its concepts, and come out with a wonderful idea of who the world, what the world should be, and who you will be as a young Jewish person. Mazel tov to you.
Dor vador, Hagid kol lecha. Dor vador, we protect this name. generation to generation. Dor vador, these lips will praise your name.
We continue on page 366 of the prayer book, page 366.
Shema Yisrael,
Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo.
Gadlul Adonai iti uneromema shemo yachdav. Lecha Adonai hagedula v'hagevura v'hatiferet v'hanetzach v'hahod kichol v'shamayim u'va'aretz kichol v'shamayim u'va'aretz Adonai הממלכה והמתנשא לכל ראש. רוממו אדוני אלוהינו והשתחוו להר קדשו. רוממו אדוני אלוהינו והשתחוו להר קדשו. Kadosh Adonai Eloheinu Romemu. Kadosh Adonai Eloheinu Romemu. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishachavu lehar kodsho. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishachavu Har Kocho, hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Oh, Hanshama, te hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah.
The congregation may be seated. The Torah portion that we offer this week is called Bechukotai. It is a different Torah portion than some congregations are reading this week because of the way that the Reform movement in America, or I should say in the diaspora and in the land of Israel, along with the other movements in the land of Israel, observe the Torah cycle a little bit differently from other communities in the diaspora. So today we offer perhaps a slightly different parashah, and we get caught up after Shavuot. But Bechukotai, on the one hand, is a compilation of laws, because God wants us to follow the laws. And if you walk in my statutes, says God, then good things will happen to you. And if you decide to spurn me, and if you decide to violate my rules, then a lot of bad things will happen to you, especially agricultural things, that you won't be able to get the crops that you expect. Now, there's a lot of concern about agriculture in ancient times, and certainly today there is as well. In ancient times, as the authors of Torah tell us, it is our behavior that determines the fate of our crops. And why? Because God will cause punishment to come. In our day, there are perhaps different causations that we understand might happen. It may not be a direct cause of transgressions, that God will get angry at us, say as a world community, and hurt our agriculture. But if you think about the things that we do to our climate, if you think about the ways that we might have been avoiding dealing with climate change in our day, that in itself is a transgression which has its own consequences. And it's not God necessarily who is punishing us, but it is we who have neglected the environment. We are hurting ourselves ultimately. And if you think about the war happening in Ukraine right now, Ukraine supplies so much grain, Russia too for that matter. Russia, Ukraine, that area of the world is an extremely fertile place. And right now, those farmers can't sow their fields. Those people may not be eventually to harvest their crops this fall, or at least to the extent that they have been able to do so in the past. And that will hurt the world food situation. And so anything that happens in the world, anything that we do in the world to affect the world and its history may not affect the world and its history only, it will affect the world and its future. So we must all be very careful that we have to understand and to engage in the mixing together of causes, in the unity of humanity, because it is we who will be saving this planet. It's not going to be God who's going to save this planet. Ultimately, it's going to be us and our interventions on how we make this a better world. This morning's Torah portion, again, this morning's Torah portion is Bechukotai, and if you would like to follow along in the Plaut commentary, they are available on the book rack out in the foyer. We're on page 969 in the Plaut Torah commentary. And again, as I said, Maria is going to be reading the concluding verses from the book of Leviticus, and at a certain point, we'll ask the community to rise. That's during the third Aliyah, so you can rest for a little while.
And again, those are those solid blue and red books that say Torah on them out that are on the book rack. If anyone wishes to grab them, you're most welcome.
Okay. For the first Aliyah to the Torah, we are pleased to invite to the Torah Stacy Franklin and Tom Franklin.
אקרא לעמוד שרה בת מרים ויצחק ודוד בן מרים ולבן לעלייה לתורה.
Let's get Maria situated first, and then she can show us where to start.
Right there.
Okay, got it.
Baruch Adonai Havarach.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Leolam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Havarach Leolam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam Asher Bachar Banu Mikol Ha'amim V'natan Lanu Et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen. Verse 26.
Amen. Bechor Asher Yivukar Ladonai Bivhema Lo Yakdish Ish Oto Im Shor Im Se Ladonai Hu V'im Babahema Atamea Ufada Ve'erkecha Ve'asaf Hamishito Alav V'im lo Yigael V'nim Kar Be'erkecha Achol Cherem Asher Yacharim Ish Ladonai Mikol Asher Lo Me'adam Ubehema Umisede Achuzato Lo Yimacher V'lo Yigael Kol Cherem Kodesh Kodashim Hu Ladonai.
Baruch Adonai Havarach. Oh. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam Asher Natan Lanu Torat Emet V'chayei Olam Nata B'tochenu. Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen. Yasher Koach. Mazel tov to you. the next Aliyah to the Torah, Maria, we're going to call your parents, Todd Steinberg and Edith Steinberg.
אקרא לעמוד, טוביה בן מרים ויצחק, ואסתר לעלייה לתורה.
And we'll be beginning or continuing at verse 29. In Hebrew, it starts on page 970.
Baruch hu et Adonai hamvorach.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Leolam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai hamvorach leolam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Kol cherem asher yachari Yochoram min ha'adam lo yipadeh mot yumat v'chol masar ha'aretz mizera ha'aretz mipri ha'etz Ladonai hu kodesh Ladonai v'im ga'ol yig'al ish mima'asro chamishito Yosef alav.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu et torato. V'chayei olam nata b'tochenu Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Asher koach. You can show her some love if you want. And for the third Aliyah today, Maria, we call you to the Torah, you who become on this day a bat mitzvah, someone with all the privileges and responsibilities of a bat mitzvah, and with all of the privileges, really, of being in part of this community, which we so much appreciate. Thank you. So we are now calling Maria Elizabeth Steinberg to the Torah.
Na la'amod, na la'amod, na la'amod, Miriam מבית טוביה ואסתר כבת מצווה לעלייה לתורה.
Baruch hu et Adonai HaMevorach.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Leolam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Leolam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
V'chol masar bakar vatzon kol asher ya'avor tachat hashavet ha'asiri yiyeh kodesh Ladonai lo yivaker bein tov l'ra v'lo yimirenu v'im hamer yimirenu v'hayahu utmurato Yiyeh kodesh lo yigael eleh hamitzvot asher tiva Adonai et Moshe el bnei Yisrael bahar Sinai.
Chazak, chazak, v'nitchazek. We can say that all together. Chazak, chazak, v'nitchazek. Chazak, chazak, v'nitchazek.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chaye olam, nata b'tolchenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. I can take that. Just stay here for just a second. Okay, for me. Let's roll this close. Here. Yeah. And you can go back and sit down. In the presence of this sacred community and in the presence of the Sefer Torah, now we offer special prayers and blessings that are of concern to us all. I would like to invite you to turn to page 376 in the prayer book, page 376. We first offer a blessing for our country, this land that we are always making improvements on and we are so proud of. Begins at the middle of the page with this citation from the book of Isaiah, who wrote, "Thus says Adonai, this is what I desire, to unlock the fetters of wickedness and untie the cords of lawlessness, to let the oppressed go free, to break off every yoke. Share your bread with the hungry and take the wretched poor into your home. When you see the naked, give clothing, and do not ignore your own kin. If you banish the yoke from your midst, the menacing hand, the evil speech, if you offer compassion to the hungry and satisfy the famished creature, then your light shall shine in darkness." Please join me. O guardian of life and liberty, may our nation always merit your protection. Teach us to give thanks for what we have by sharing it with those who are in need. Keep our eyes open to the wonders of creation and alert to the care of the earth. May we never be lazy in the work of peace. May we honor those who have died in defense of our ideals. Grant our leaders wisdom and forbearance. May they govern with justice and compassion. Help us all to appreciate one another and to respect the many ways that we may serve you. May our homes be safe from affliction and strife, and our country be sound in body and spirit. Amen.
Amen.
On page 377 is a prayer for the state of Israel. I invite you to join me. O Heavenly One, protector and redeemer of Israel, bless the state of Israel, which marks the dawning of hope for all who seek peace. Shield it beneath the wings of your love. Spread over it the canopy of your peace. Send your light and truth to all who lead and advise, guiding them with your good counsel. Establish peace in the land and fullness of joy for all who dwell there.
Amen.
And finally, on page 371, a prayer of healing and wholeness. We all know of people who are ill. We might know people who are in the hospital or who are at home suffering from COVID or suffering from some other malady of the body, malady of the spirit or mind. And so we offer prayers of healing on their behalf. On our Temple Bethel healing list, we have almost 100 people whom we offer prayers for all the time and pray for their recovery. There may be people in your family, in your friendship circle, who also need prayers of healing and wholeness. And so now we offer prayers that will help them, we hope, understand that this community of worshipers and our online community of worshipers, us together, that we are all praying on their behalf. If there's a name of someone whom you'd like to share with us, we invite you to do so as we join our prayers to yours. Dear God, aloud and in our hearts, we name those facing illness and pain. We join our prayers to the prayers of all who love them, here on page 371 at the middle of the page.
Be Sheberach Avoteinu Mikor HaBracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mi sheberach imotenu mikor habraha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. I would now like to invite back to the Bima Mark Steinberg and Tom Franklin, who will help with the dressing of the Sefer Torah. We invite the community to rise. And if you look carefully, you'll be able to see where the book of Leviticus ends and the book of Deuteronomy begins, if you look at the Sefer Torah. Book of Numbers, that is. Zot HaTorah asher sam Moshe lifnei bnei Yisrael, Ami Adonai b'yad Moshe. Lai 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 All our B'nai Mitzvah have thoughts about their Torah portion, and we invite them to offer their thoughts today. So, not today, but we invite Maria to offer her thoughts today. Maria, we'd like you to come over and share with us some of your thoughts about today's Torah portion.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
My Torah portion is very important because it states a lot of laws and the cause and effect if you listen to God or not. The main part I wanted to focus on, though, was aiming to steer away from these laws and later on in the portion. It starts to talk about the worth of humans, land, and animals. In the beginning, God says, if you follow and observe their commandments, then they will reward you with good harvest and a good rainy season and all of that good stuff. If you continue to follow these laws for an even longer period, then God will make sure that enemies fall at your sword and you will gain peace along the land. But if you do not obey God, God will make terrible things happen, such as crops not growing properly, making people sick, sending plagues, being eternally hungry, or eating the flesh of children, and enemies will make you fall at their sword. Talk about cruel and unusual. Torah, with all its other teachings, guides us to live with morally good intentions and making sure Israel's people follow the rules. God then talks about how males, females, and priests have different values as humans. This part stood out to me a lot. Examples from the text: a male from 20 to 60 years of age the equivalent is 50 shekels of silver. Apparently, a man of older age is worth 20, but a woman doesn't change in price at all, even when younger or more able. These rules continue with animals and children as well. Priests help assess these values to my understanding. Then it talks about the assessments of land and how pure land is good for growing and will be worth more than impure land. Pure land is when a priest assesses the land. Animals can be pure or impure. If land is not redeemed in a certain amount of time, then it's sold based on its assessment price. If crops are grown on pure land, they belong to God. These are all the commandments that Moses got on Mount Sinai. The part I find most interesting is the part about different values of men and women. In the Torah portion, it's a little sad that the worth of a woman was only 10 shekels for a female and 20 for a male. This, of course, varies on age and ability, too, but it's interesting to point out. Why I think it's important is because it makes me feel confused, because you would think women would be worth more because they can produce children. This idea of values sadly wasn't that hard to relate to the present day, because people still think of women as lesser people, and that women are only focused on looks and not ability or strength. I think that everyone should be treated equally, no matter their race, gender, sexuality, ability, or skill. This doesn't necessarily relate to me because I don't have a job, but women tend to get paid less because of some messed up part of our society. I think we as a community can do something about this sexism. In my view of the Torah portion, the lesson the Torah explains is to listen to God more than usual, because God can make miracles happen and plagues. The lesson I eventually learned is that God wants us to ask questions, and that questioning things usually makes things better and more precise. My mitzvah project is gathering art supplies and donating them to UW Children's Hospital. I thought this would be a good idea for me because I love to draw and would like others to be able to draw too and not bored in a hospital room. I would like to thank my mom and my dad for helping set this whole thing up. I'd also like to thank my aunt and uncle for supporting me throughout this long process. And finally, I'd like to thank Cantor, Nicole, and Rabbi for putting up with me, even when I was difficult. Shabbat Shalom.
Maria Steinberg.
Welcome to all. That's a bit of a hard act to follow. Wow. Hard to imagine our baby girl is celebrating her bat mitzvah. It seems just like yesterday she was strolling around with her baby doll, Agatha, crawling into our dog's Jonathan's kennel, playing the harmonica while riding in the Burley trailer. You have focused very intently on preparing for your bat mitzvah, and this Mom and I are very proud. It has been a challenging time for you this past few years due to COVID, school closures, isolation from friends, and even moving. In spite of all that, you've accomplished so much, getting on the honor roll and making new friends. You started your life with a bilingual mother and a baby boomer dad. This led you to a very well-developed vocabulary, love for oldies music, understanding some of the Estonian language. When I grew tired of heating up your milk in the middle of the night when you needed it, I once gave you a cold one, only to find out that you had thrown it across the room and was screaming at me, "Soya bima." To those that don't know Estonian, it said warm milk. She didn't want the cold milk. It means soon Mom had taught you most of your body parts in Estonian, and you would recite them with confidence, watching European cartoons like Moomy and Latte. And you would play Estonian music with Mom. One of the songs I remembered was Dip Dop, Dip Dop. She knows. When you first learned to speak, the first word out of your mouth wasn't mommy or daddy, but was Ted's. And What is Ted's? It was our favorite Greek restaurant in Des Moines. And she always loved to get a gyros there. You spent lots of time with Nana and Bampa. Nana would make you the best potato wedges, and Bampa and you had many tea parties and walks in the park. You began to know all of the residents in the Deerfield retirement community. At 4 years of age, Nana Maya came to visit from Estonia. You two did art together, loved to go to garage sales, and you loved to introduce her to everyone you would find. Soon you became involved in athletics, soccer, gymnastics, dance, track, taekwondo, and your life has always been surrounded by music, since your entire extended family is very musical. Bampa, Aunt Stacy, Aunt Eva, Uncle Mark all play instruments. So do all your cousins, Jeremy, Brittany, Laura, Casper. Your cousin Helena in Finland is a very accomplished pianist, and Nana Maya used to sing in a band. You and Mom took piano lessons together, but practice was not your favorite pastime. Now you're playing the clarinet. You and I even played harmonica one time and Jew's harp at the elementary school. I would never miss the bedtime stories from all the PJ Library books, the dreaded birthday story of Dr. Seuss, and the stories about Herschel from Osterpool. You loved going out in nature, climbing trees, collecting nature for art projects, and camping. We even had a tent city in the basement. Most of all, throughout your life, you have been surrounded by the family that loves and supports you. You grew up with Jewish value system that helped guide you through life, as well as Estonian practicality. Your mom and I have been blessed to have the best daughter in the world. We are so excited for this accomplishment today of your bat mitzvah and to share it with our family and friends. We love you very much, Mom and Dad.
The microphone too. Wow. Shabbat Shalom, Maria. As Director of Lifelong Learning, I think it was really my pleasure to get to know you and your family as you just moved here, trying to figure out when your bat mitzvah date was going to be and where you were going, what your house was going to look like, and a whole bunch of things a part of your transition. And I'm actually a big fan of yours to see how you have acclimated to our community so well. I hope to continue to know you as you get older and older. So, you shared a lot of words with us today, words in Hebrew, words in English, words from your own heart, and those were gifts, and we have some gifts for you as well. I'm inviting Michelle Gustafson as a representative of our board to give you some gifts, but before she starts, I have this gift for you here. Now this cohort, this 7th grade cohort, has been very special and yes, thank you for being here too. Some of your closest acquaintances from our 7th grade. You got together to provide each of you a gift. And so this is a gift from your cohort. And also, you all collected a few extra dollars to offer to tzedakah, to a charity of your choice that you're picking out. I think that just speaks volume and how special you people in the 7th grade are. So anyway, we have some more gifts for you. Thank you for sharing everything about yourself with us today.
Hello, Maria. It's nice to meet you. I'm Michelle. Hi, everyone. It's nice to meet your family and see some wonderful people here who I have seen before. As Mrs. Jar said, I'm Michelle. I am a member of the Board of Trustees here at Temple Bethel, and I was a 7th grade teacher here for a while. That's why I know some of you. And I have to say, Maria, I know from my experience teaching 7th grade that 7th grade is tough. It's tough to be a student, and it's tough to be a new student in 7th grade. But one of the things I've learned by speaking to your family and knowing the people who are here with you today, that just by being you, you will find friends. You have friends, and more friends will come because of who you are, and clearly who you are is an exceptional person. I am also glad to be here today because I have presents. That's my job. I get to bring the presents. So let me put that here. And I have for you first from our youth group, which is called Maddie, a water bottle with treats in it right now. Maddie is our Temple youth group, and they are really terrific. It's a wonderful way to get to expand and extend your experience here at Temple after you become bat mitzvah. You're not quite old enough for that group, which is for high school and on, but you are old enough to participate in Muddy, which is our junior youth group for 7th and 8th graders. And I won't say that Muddy is the best pre-youth group organization in all of Wisconsin, but I will tell you that I wish I had one like that when I was your age. On behalf of the Sisterhood, Men's Club, and Board of Trustees, I have all of these other great gifts for you too. I have, let's see, a book. Called The Doorpost of Your House. I know you want another book, right? Yeah. That's actually a great book. You will find it very useful in your life as you move forward. This is very cool. A mezuzah for the doorposts of your house, or any room that you wish while you are still at home. And we also have inside a $250 gift certificate for any trip to Israel of your choice that is sponsored to you by the Jewish Federation. And most importantly, and you can hold this, is your certificate. And it says, in becoming a bat mitzvah, Maria has accepted the privileges and responsibilities of being a Jew. And they are lifelong Torah study and the keeping of mitzvot, Shabbat, holy day, and life cycle observances, participation in the life of the synagogue, the Jewish community, and Israel. And I know this is important to you, Maria, dedication to Tikkun Olam, which is making the world a better place. We hope these gifts will be part of your Jewish life, and we wish you and your family all the best in the future. Mazel tov. You're welcome. Here, let me help you with that. Okay. Yeah, just pop it in there. There you go. Do that too.
That's yours. Mostly. For today. How you doing?
Good.
Great. You know, you did something this morning which not many people can do. You did this. Watch.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Oh, you saw.
She raises one eyebrow. I can do it too. And I noticed it, and it's such a unique talent. Not everyone can do that, to raise one eyebrow like that. Spock does that. Are you into Star Trek? Spock does that. I also learned you had or have a dog named Jonathan.
Yeah.
That is a beautiful name, if I do say so objectively. But aside from all of that, you chose, or fate chose you, to have a really challenging Torah portion. And I really appreciate what you did with it. Because a person could read these words of Leviticus, that is, the few words of blessing and the hundreds of other words of cursing, right, that Israel could be subject to depending upon its behavior, and any other student could take a look at that and say, ugh, I don't want to read Torah. If that's what Torah is about, why should I study this book? And you, Maria, you had the patience, you had the willingness, the openness to learn and to think about why indeed we need to be studying these words from Torah. Because they indeed are, that's the illustration, that's the prime illustration of why Torah study is so important. You know, these words were written 2,500 years ago. They were written by people who understood the world in a certain way. And we who live in this era, sometimes we understand the world in a very different way. And sometimes we understand that human motivation doesn't change, even in 2,500 years. People are either greedy or they're not. People are either humble or they're not. And all of those human traits, can affect how you behave and therefore how the world perceives you and then how you interact with the world, and therefore the world is dependent upon how people behave. And anything that we do can affect the world. And so when you take a look at this Torah portion and you find the important points here that you can relate to life today, that means that we have begun to do the right work together. And that's why Torah study is so important to be studied together. Maria, you are an open person. You are a person who has such great skills and such great humanity in you, even with your dry sense of humor, and even with your outlook in the world, which is a little cynical, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with, because what that, no, seriously, because what that is, that's a sign of asking questions. You yourself said that. It's a sign of asking questions and wondering what needs to happen in this moment in order for the right result to happen. I want to encourage you to continue asking those questions. What's right in the world? What's wrong in the world? How do we fix what's wrong in the world? What can we do to make the world better than it is, better than it was today? What can we do tomorrow? And when you ask those questions and then get the answers for yourself and put those answers into practical effect, then the world will be a better place because you have interacted with it. And that makes us, proud is not the right word, it makes us kvel, which is a good Yiddish word that means just beam with joy and satisfaction at seeing someone realize such important values in the world. I heard a term used a little while ago, Estonian practicality. Edith, I'm not sure what that means. You can explain that to me later. But I would interpret that to say that there are things that just make sense. And you just do them because it makes sense and because it ultimately helps. And this world ultimately needs a lot of helpers in its midst. We congratulate you on becoming one of those helpers to make the world a better place. Mazel tov to you on this beautiful day of Bat Mitzvah for you. I have some private words to share with you. Come out to the community court. Let's talk.
While they're sharing those private words, we'll offer a meditation in this space. You know, Rabbi was mentioning earlier about how there's a tradition that by turning Torah over and over again, that we can find all kinds of wisdom. And I'm reminded of a teaching that Torah is less of a window into the divine mind or to the source of divine wisdom, but more like an infinitely faceted diamond, that by turning it one way and another, that we can gain all kinds of new insights and learnings. And that one of the ways that happens is by seeing an idea or a thought through the perspective of another. And so what an opportunity we've had today to both pass Torah down to a young person in our community, but then also to receive some Torah from them as well, from Maria as well. And so we offer gratitude. Much wisdom can we learn from our teachers, or can we learn from our friends, from our students, we can learn the most of all. Harbe lamadti merabotai, umechaverai yoter merabotai, umitamidai, yoter mikulan, yoter mikulan. Turn it and turn it and turn it. Turn it and turn it around. Everything is in it. Everything is in it. Turn it and turn it around. Turn it and turn it and turn it. Turn it and turn it around. Everything is in it. Everything is in it. Turn it and turn it and turn it around.
Maria Cantor, Jacob, and I would now like to confer upon you the priestly benediction of our people, blessing you from this moment forward.
Yivarechecha Adonai ve'yishmerecha.
May God always bless you and watch over you.
Ya'er Adonai panav elecha vichuneka.
May God always shine down upon you the light of heaven to be gracious and compassionate to you.
Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom.
May God always point the light of heaven in your direction, so that you receive in your heart and in your home God's greatest gift, which is the gift of peace. And we all say, Amen. Our service now continues as we return the Sefer Torah to the Ark. I'd like to invite you to turn to page 374 in the prayer books, page 374, and we invite you to rise for returning the Sefer Torah to the Ark, page 374.
Yehalelu et Shem Adonai, ki niskav shemo levado, hodo al eretz v'shamayim, vayarem keren le'amo, v'hila lechol hasidav. Israel am kerovo. Hallelujah, hallelujah.
Please read with me on page 375.
When Torah entered the world, freedom entered it. The whole Torah exists only to establish peace. Its highest teaching is love and kindness. What is hateful to you, do not do to any person. That is the whole Torah. All the rest is commentary. Go and learn it. Those who study Torah are the true guardians of civilization, honoring one another, doing acts of kindness, and making peace. These are our highest duties. But the study of Torah is equal to them all because it leads to them all. Let us learn in order to teach. Let us learn in order to do. Ki lekach tov natati lahem torati al ta'azovu. Eitz chaim hi hamachazikim ba v'tom cheha eushan racheha darchei noam v'chol netivoteha shalom hashivenu Adonai elecha v'nashuva Chadesh Chadesh Yameinu Chadesh Yameinu Yekedem.
We now continue with Aleinu on page 586. 586 at the top of the page.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, l'teit gedula liotzer breshit, shehu noteh shamayim liosed aretz, umoshav yikaro, hashamayim mima'al, ushchinatu zo begofhei meromim, hu Eloheinu Echod. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא.
You may be seated.
And we'll be continuing on page 590.
Let all who dwell on earth acknowledge that unto you every knee must bend and every tongue swear loyalty. Before you, Adonai our God, let them pay homage. Let them give glory to your honored name. Let all accept the yoke of your reign, that you may rule over us soon and forever. For sovereignty is yours, and to all eternity you will reign in glory. As it is written in your Torah, Adonai will reign forever and ever. Thus it has been said, Adonai will become sovereign of all the earth. On that day, Adonai will become one, and God's name will be one.
ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו
Zecher Tzadik Livracha, may the memory of the righteous always be a blessing. We now remember those who have gone from this world, those connected to Temple Beth El who have passed away in the last 30 days. This is the period that we call Shloshim, this period of 30 days of mourning. And also those whose Yahrzeichen occur at this time, the anniversary of their passing. And I know, Maria, you also are remembering certain members of your family who are no longer with us. These are those whom we've taken into our hearts with our own. The recent deaths connected to our community. We remember Lael Lubing, cousin of Aliza Hoffert, Yolanda McDermott, stepmother of Kim Stefanovich, grandmother of Tristan and Skylar, Barbara Scharfman, grandmother of Dr. Stephanie Kirkland, great-grandmother of Elena and Zoe, and Jonathan Poole, brother-in-law of Linda White, uncle of Natalie, Erica, and Holly White. And these are those for whose Yahrzeichen we observe now. By the way, if you are here observing a Yahrzeit, we invite you to rise as the name of your loved one is recited, and then you'll be joined by the whole community as together we recite the Kaddish. In continuing love and devotion, we remember today Bernard Albert, David Ashkenazi, Rochelle Brodsky, Edith Cohen, Jacob Engel, Edith Firstman, Earl Richard Friedman, David Gerhardt, Marshall Goldman, Barry Greenberg, Edna Heilprin, Edith Danae Lax, Rose Lefkowitz, Marion C. Lowe, Avram Lubing, John J. Lynch, Bob Mashelow, Morton Melnick, Harlan Obeler, M. Paul Orenberg, Alex Persian, Melvin L. Potash, Faye Rosen Robiner, Saul Schultz, Gladys Silman, Donald Siniko, David Wax, and Harriet Weintraub. Maria, your family today is also remembering Irv Steinberg and Mary Franklin of blessed memory. There may be other people whose memories you have in your hearts, whose names you'd like to share with us and make them part of our Kaddish list. And if you have someone whom you'd like to say aloud, we invite you to do so. Other people we should be remembering? Zichronam livracha, may their memories be blessings in our hearts and the hearts and minds of all those who knew and loved them. Testifying to the faith that binds the generations of our people together, we now invite you to turn to page 598, and we rise as one community of consolation and comfort, and we offer the mourner's Kaddish, again on page 598. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah. Ve'alma divra chirutei ve'yamlich malchutei. V'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael. Ba'agala uvizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shemei Rabbah mevarach le'alam ulalmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal. Shemei dekudsha b'richu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechemata ta'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shmaya. V'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru amen. Osei shalom bimromav. Hu ya'asei shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel ve'imru amen. May God send peace to all who mourn and comfort you who remember on this day. And we say, Amen.
Amen.
Please be seated. In a few moments, it's fine. In a few moments, our service will conclude, and when it does, we'd like to ask you all just to remain for a few moments as we say Kiddush and Motzi here from the floor, and then we are invited to a Kiddush outside, courtesy of Maria Steinberg and her family. We'd like to thank you for your hospitality, and we also want to say Mazel Tov to you for having a wonderful observance today of Maria becoming Bat Mitzvah. It is our privilege to worship with you and to help Maria arrive to this day and prepare for the rest of the things that she's going to do with all of this information that she has. So Mazel Tov to Maria and Mazel Tov to all of you who are here. Thank you to Sharon and E.J. Kahn and Michelle Gustafson, who were our greeters this morning. And thanks to Summer, who was doing our tech work today. Toda Rabbah, Summer, thank you. Let's see, a few announcements. First of all, thank you for wearing your masks everywhere in our building today. Of course, not when you're eating, but it's such a nice day, maybe you want to have lunch outside. But we are at a state right now with a heightened alert and heightened caseload, and so we are asking everybody to remain with masks on their noses and their mouths when you're in our building. Thank you very much for that. Thank you for providing proof of vaccination and boosters when you came into our building today. And one brief note about contact tracing. Please, if you test positive within 5 days of this service, we ask you to let us know. Give a call to our executive director, you can call her. Her name is Stephanie Kushner. Her email is exec@tbemadison.org. And please let us know, because if we find out that someone has tested positive within 5 days, we will let you know. But we have to have your email address in order to do that, so be sure that that's on our contact tracing sheet outside. Through these uncertain times, we want to try and keep people informed and, of course, as safe as possible. This coming Friday evening, Shabbat worship will take place at 7:30 p.m. And next Saturday, we will have Torah study led by Steve Craig. That will be at 9 o'clock, and that will be on Zoom exclusively. Please join us then. And our next event that we have two important events coming up. One is on Shabbat morning on June 4th, which is right before the holiday of Shavuot. We have our confirmation class who is coming to this bima to be confirmed. So you can join us for that. And on Saturday, June 11th, Camila Garcetti, the daughter of Laura Schechter and Vincent Garcetti, will come to this bima as a bat mitzvah. Yes, you are next, Camila. So we are so glad to have you have our next up right here with us. So please join us for all of these wonderful simchas that we have in our community. Right now, I would like to ask Chloe and Eden to please perform a sweet responsibility, and that is they're going to pass out candy to everybody. Because at the end of our worship, just after the motzi, just after we say the blessings of the bread, someone will give you a clue, or a cue rather, about showering Maria with sweetness. That's what we'd like you to do. We'd like you to shower Maria with sweetness. Remember, and you're all sitting relatively close, so it needs to be underhand, right? It needs to be underhand, can't be overhand. That's not a nice thing to do. So just remember that that's going to happen. I now would like to invite the community to turn to page 657. We conclude our worship this morning with Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, our hope and prayer for peace. Page 657 at the bottom of the page.
Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kulam. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kulam. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kulam. Salam Aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam, salam, salam Aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam, salam. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kulam. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kulam.
We now invite the community to rise for Vishamru and the Kiddush and the Motzi.
Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et haShabbat, לעשות את השבת לדורותם בריך עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם בריך עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם בריך עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם בריך עולם. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם בריך עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם בריך עולם. על כן ברך אדוני את יום השבת ויקדשהו ספרי
L'chaim.
Baruch, wait, what is
Baruch atah.
Baruch atah Adonai
Eloheinu melech haolam,
Borei Beri Hagafen.
L'chaim. And on page 606, if you'd like, the text is Motzi for this morning. Just take a piece of challah.
Baruch
Baruch
atah
Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam,
hamotzi lechem min haaretz.
B'tei avon. Now you've got to collect it up.
Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom.
So for a few moments, everybody come up, have a seat for a little bit. I think that Todd's family has something they'd like to share with us.
Maria, Mazel Tov. And a very, very special Mazel Tov from your special cousins, Brittany, Tova, and Jeremy, Yermi. They wish they could have been here with you, but they are definitely here in spirit. And they've decided to put together a special song to send you on your way, on your life journey after your bat mitzvah. We'd like to share this with you today. Jeremy and Brittany are watching you during your bat mitzvah today on a virtual community. And here we'd like to share a little song with you. Lechi lach to a land that I will show you. Lechi to a place you do not know.
Lechi lach, on your journey I will bless you, and you shall be a blessing.
You shall be a blessing. You shall be a blessing. Lechi lach.
Lechi lach. And I shall make your name great.
Lecha, and I shall praise your name. Lechi lach, to the place that I will show you. Lesimchat hayim.
Lesimchat hayim. Lesimchat hayim. Lechi lach.
Our blessings are always with you. We love you very much.
Okay, one last thing. Maria, there's a poem from Nana that she wrote for you. She wants me to read it to you. Okay? Can you hear me okay? The life journey of Maria Elizabeth. I have a little story to share with each and every one of you. I'll make it short and sweet and hope you get a chuckle or two. August 15th, 2009, Maria Elizabeth Steinberg arrived in all her glory. That's what's so exciting about the rest of my story. At 9 months old, she discovered her dad's computer on the coffee table. I think I can do something with this thing. I know I am perfectly able. I'll send an email to my very best friend, my dad. If I play on this black box, I know he won't get mad. Moving on. Life is getting more exciting, finding more things to do for fun. I need dancing, soccer, and running shoes for Aunt Stacy's Girls on the Run. I'm going to preschool, Sunday school, starting Taekwondo too. I'm really excited. I found so many new fun things to do. Moving on. There was Deerfield and Bampaw and all the fun we had as a pair. There were picnics, fishing, stories, the playground. We didn't have a worry or a care. Cute puppies appeared, fought over toys, bones, matzah, anything they could find. The family worked hard and patiently taught them to behave and mind. And moving on, it's so wonderful all the women have been baking. It will be a sweet table just for taking. We're coming up on the finish line. 13 years are in sight. It's now bat mitzvah time. Maria is prepared and shines like a star, so bright. The end. And then if you come up here for a minute, Maria, this is something here. This is the last thing. If you can open this and show everybody. Oh, thank you.
Here?
Yeah, you can open it right here.
Okay. Don't say that. Wow, it's a box.
Yeah. I just taped.
Okay. Oh, wow. Look at it.
It's the poem with pictures around it.
That's cool.
All right. That's from Nana.
This box lunch is for everybody out there, and please help yourself. Summer, thank you so much.